Hey everyone, Dan here. Before we get into it, if you enjoy these videos, please hit the like and subscribe button. It helps a lot. And also keep in mind that these are my own thoughts, opinions, and ideas. These are not meant to be, nor should you take them as investment or trading advice in any way, shape, or form. Do your own due diligence, put in the work for yourself, and make your decisions based on that. Enjoy. All right, folks, here we are right at the closing bell, actually, on Thursday, September 2nd. We're going to take our daily look at SoFi. SoFi having a beautiful day today, as you see here on the daily chart. Had a nice dip this morning down to 1440. Made the very quick run up to the VWAP. Was able to establish over, give it its first test, and then it was just run time. So then it just ran off that VWAP all the way up and over this 15, oh gosh, what do I have here? Price is too close to it, I can't see. 1502, yeah, 1502 resistance zone that we have plotted. Now, it tried valiantly. Essentially what happened here was it double, triple topped out at 1520, as you can see there. I'm fighting with the software a little bit today. Okay, had this topping out here, count that as 2, 3, 4 times, whatever you want. I mean, this is on the 1 minute chart, so but you see it bounced nicely on that first attempt over 1520 and bounced nicely off of the support zone as it was then. And then it just double, triple topped out, tried to hold again at the support zone, again, that we had plotted several days or weeks ago. So these are holding up really, really well as areas that the stock is trying to work around and toward, trying to flip from resistance to support. But it lost it and just fell a smidge below the VWAP, but nothing that wasn't potentially just something more than algos trying to take out stop losses that were following the VWAP potentially. Established up over that, and now right at the end of the day here, we are literally just a minute or two before close. We're right at close, 4 o'clock on the dot at the moment. Trying to establish again at this 1502 level. So it looks like we might have support here in a nice candlestick heading into close. Volume looking nice, nearly 20 million on the day. These are the numbers that I have been saying for quite some time. If you look back at my videos talking about wanting to get the days where we have big buy volume up into the 18-20 million range, and whereas before we were mostly just seeing that on days with largely sell volume, aka red days. So really, really nice to see, and those bullish indications that we said may be showing themselves in SoFi's chart that we talked about last night seem to be trying really hard to play out here in the day today. Now, if we look here at the daily chart, you see this volume holding really, really nicely here over the course of several weeks now. And a couple of things to note. So one, this wedge that we had put in here, it's starting to break above the wedge for now. And if it can break out above this wedge, I think we have a real opportunity to make that run to 1629, the next level up that we have plotted. So if, you know, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I both don't want to get people overly excited because we've had days before we've put in some really good green effort, some really good bullish effort, and then just to get smacked down really hard in the subsequent days or weeks. So I don't want to get people sort of overly excited, but also I can't be responsible for how folks act in the market. So I guess I need to temper that a little bit and just say, to me, this is looking really good at the moment. That could certainly change from day to day, and that's why we make a daily video, which is very hard because things are very up and down, as you see here. And but we're trying to make sense of it as we go. And so to me, this potential breakout here is a really, really strong sign. It's the best sign that we've had in quite some time, certainly since this run up to earnings. This is the best opportunity that we've had for SoFi to make a more sustained run. And that doesn't have to mean that it's 10, 15% gain days. That can just mean that it's going to kind of stair step its way up and regain some of the losses that it's been so tragically had thrust upon it here since that first lockup expired at the end of June. So these are the things that I'm looking at. The wedge out, it toying with this 1502 zone to flip to support would be the next thing. And like I said, that should unlock an attempted run at 1629 as long as it can establish true support at 1502. And let me say this very clearly because people always get confused on this. Look here, for example, this broke 1411 and then it rejected off 1502. and came down and retested 1411 for several days, right? We could see that here. And just because this ran up and ran right to the next resistance zone doesn't mean that this will. This could come up just a smidge over 1502 and then come down and try to test it again. It's okay if it comes down and tries to test it again. That's part of it establishing real support in that area, not just blowing through it and then not having any real support fall back on there. It's good in my mind if it comes back and tests the price zone or the supply and demand zone that it just flipped or tried to flip from resistance to support. So just keep that in mind. Try to be clear on that. If it's still confusing, let me know in the comments and I'll try to clarify more. But we see growing volume here day after day, the last few days, and we do see a bullish crossover on the MACD that is growing. And we see a very quick squashing of the bearish momentum here. If you go back to the days following the earnings drop, this huge gap down that we had after earnings, you'll hear me say this is a really interesting test for the SoFi, the stock. What is the stock going to do? What's the price action going to do? What's the market cap going to look like after a drop like this? Can it very quickly stabilize? Can it retrace and come back from these losses in a relatively short period of time? Does it just get absolutely depleted and beat down to smithereens? To me, this was the first really strong test of the stock post a bunch of fundamental stuff like the merger happening, like the first lockup expiring. Obviously, those had their own reactions, right? The merger happening, the lockup expiring, and then the next big catalyst, run up to earnings, huge drop on earnings. And now what does SoFi, the stock, do with that information? So to me, if it continues in this way and it does break out through this wedge, it's a really, really good sign that the market is willing to price a larger market cap on SoFi based on, I guess, sort of what has come to light so far, but even more so, the potential that it sees with SoFi in the marketplace in the, I guess, years ahead. Now, the order flow today, just a little bit coming in inflow from large scale orders. So no outflow from large scale, tiny bit, but we do see a decent number of medium size coming in, and then small inflow actually losing out slightly to small outflow. So nothing that's sort of like thrusting this up because it's a one-off or a semi-irregular huge institution buy. So to me, that's potentially a good sign. This is slightly tangential, but I'll be getting into this more in the Weird World Part 3, which I think will be coming out in about a week. So toward the end of next week, I anticipate to have this out. I'll be going over, or one of the things that I'll be talking about is potentially some thoughts around why Kathy Wood hasn't come in to purchase SoFi for her ARK fund. I've been getting a ton of messages about that lately. I don't know if there were some articles that came out about it or how there's this mass consciousness, sort of everyone asking the same question at the same time, but I'll go through that in the best way that I can and unpack it as best I can as a part of that. It won't be the entirety of that video or of that deck, that slide deck that we go through, but it'll be a piece of it. Okay, and then lastly, let's hop over here, take a quick look at short interest. So coming up a little bit today, but still shorts staying relatively out of it. Utilization now coming down really, really small, just over 27% of the shares available to loan being pulled out. So like I've been saying for quite a while, I'm more than happy if the shorts stay away from SoFi at the moment. It has enough on its plate with just the organic inflows and outflows of the market without the added pressure of short sellers. Swaggy still calculating a max pain of 14.5. Also want to be really clear on this. This is I've been watching this because of comments that have been coming in. Paul, if you're watching and you want to comment on where you see max pain ending up this week, please do so. It's obviously SoFi blew through and now is straying quite far away from max pain. That doesn't mean that it couldn't come back down to 14.5 tomorrow, but we haven't historically seen it being pinned super tight to the max pain level on Fridays, at least not from what I've seen. Paul will have thoughts on this, and if it's very informative comments. I'll pin it, and so you can look for that there for his take on things. And he has this strong opinion that market makers are manipulating this to max pain week over week over week, or doing their best to anyway. And I think he also questions whether or not Swaggy is calculating the max pain correctly. So he can clarify some of that, but I don't have time to do all of those various things. There's only so many things I can cover, and to me, I think that the chart is holding up quite well, and I think that it's moving as we would expect it to, given the dynamics of the chart. And so I'm mostly focused on that for the time being. But yeah, that's where I see things. There was one other thing. Oh, people talking about the huge uptick in options for like the open interest in options. I mean, you see here, obviously there's a ton at $15, and there'll probably be a ton that get bumped up here, potentially folks throwing out some gamble trades toward the end of the week. Well, I guess tomorrow being Friday at the end of the week. So we might get some 0 day to expiry trades coming in tomorrow, but we'll look more at that when we do a larger look at the data in the coming, sorry, this is Weeble being weird. When we do a bigger look at the data next week, I'm just very rushed for time on Thursdays. And so the chart and quickly looking at the data that we typically look at is about all that I have time to go through on in today's video. So anyway, I hope that you had a good trading day. I am very excited to see what's happening with this breakout. If anything, the biggest danger here to me is it can't establish support over that 1502, and then it just comes down and either goes back into this wedge or starts following this down, this like upper bound of the wedge down back toward 1411. So those are my alarm bells. If I see that happening, that'll be alarm bells going off for me. But I do think it has opportunity to break out here, establish over 1502, and then make that run to 1629, and we'll see what happens. But we'll be here day to day to track it and unpack it as it happens in real time. All right, folks. Well, I really appreciate you watching, and I will see you in the next video.